Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, how is the pandemic affecting Indiana's shipping industry? A Lafayette coworking studio preps for a major event. The effort is on to save an endangered Indiana church. Trendiana looks at outdoor adventures you can enjoy as summer turns to fall. We talk to the new leader of the Indiana Biosciences Research Institute. And an Indiana food entrepreneur hits the national marketplace. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Indiana is home to 3 ports, which pump nearly $8 million into the Hoosier economy and employ more than 60,000 people. But shipping, just like every other industry, is being impacted by the pandemic. Ports of Indiana CEO Vanta Kota joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to talk about the current state of the ports and what's next.
I think most people are surprised when they hear Indiana talked about as a shipping state, but that is certainly the case. Give us, as we get into this, for those who may not know, that system, kind of a thumbnail of the ports of Indiana, those 3 locations, 1 in Northwest, 2 down south, and the ports of Indiana system.
Yeah, so people are generally surprised when I rank Indiana as a maritime state. Typically in tonnage, we're on any given year between rank number 13 or number 15. And that's a significant statement for people to understand. I usually get a raised eyebrow when I mention that. One of the things we've done here recently is we've been working with the Corps of Engineers to have a greater recognition of our tonnage. And we've submitted to them a proposal that would have the northern portion along Lake Michigan and then the southern portion outlined as a maritime district, which would be more fully visible within the federal government, which I think will have great impact to future reporting for us.
Yeah, we'll talk about the economic impact, which is substantial in a moment. But so many products are shipped in and out of Indiana on a daily basis. Great example of the size and scope of some of this shipping. This year, the ports of Indiana, Burns Harbor, Northwest Indiana, and Lake Michigan handled a huge shipment, $1 billion power plant being built in Michigan. It kind of ties in with the 50th anniversary there. Talk about this massive shipment and what it was involved along Lake Michigan.
Yeah, so water is the most economical means of transport, and handling large project cargo is certainly an expertise of our handlers up in Burns Harbor. This likely will be one of our largest project cargo years, driven in large part by this power plant. So really components that weigh 100,000, 300,000 pounds are quite significant and something to watch to be loaded. So several shiploads have already offloaded, and we have more in queue. In addition to that, we're also doing a very robust business this year in wind components as well.
The economic impact I mentioned, $8 billion, the estimate, 60,000 jobs tied to the ports of Indiana. But obviously, the ports, like all businesses, all industries, impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. What's the impact been on the ports?
Yeah, so going into this year, we saw a little softness. We saw a freight recession coming at the end of 2019. So we had budgeted downward, but certainly not expecting what occurred here in March. So really, it's taking us down to really 2014 levels. So we're expecting to finish somewhere from a tonnage perspective around 30% down from that 2019 number.
Yeah. I was showing some video of the Port of Indiana, Jeffersonville, massive facility there. I know there's a heavy haul road being constructed between the River Ridge Commerce Center and the port there. But there's been a lot of talk, and certainly then Governor Mike Pence announced the intent to build a 4th port near Lawrenceburg. Can you give us an update? I know it's taken probably a lot longer than a lot of people would have liked who support the idea. Where does the whole idea of a 4th port right now stand?
Yeah, so we're still in a standstill situation. There's a lot to still happen down there. Really, no news to report is in regard to the fourth port.
Okay, give us 30 seconds left, Vanta, but as you look at the future post-pandemic, get out of the pandemic era, if you will, what do you see as the future, the potential for the ports of Indiana?
Yeah, so we're built to be long-term. We think in 50-year increments, and we're definitely a buyer of Indiana. We're investing in infrastructure to further utilize for our customers and to attract more customers. So we're still the crossroads of America. So our future is bright coming out of this. We've done an excellent job in handling the downturn as a state, and that just puts us in a better position to go forward.
All right. Vanta Kota is Chief Executive Officer of the Ports of Indiana. A lot going on in a state that grows things, moves things, and makes things. Vanta, thanks as always, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Lafayette-based Matchbox Coworking Studio is a space where innovative and creative minds collaborate to pursue and develop new ideas. The nonprofit is hosting a 2-day virtual event this month called Glue. Matchbox co-founder Jason Tenenhouse and operations manager Juliana Cassavan joined us to talk about how the conference could be a game changer for Hoosier startups.
Jason, I want to start with you because the Matchbox Co-working Studio in Lafayette, I remember you launched it in 2014, 6 years ago. It's been an incredible, I think, success story. Talk about the growth, your expectations in 2014 and what the Matchbox has really turned into.
Yeah, thank you. We were actually on the show 6 years ago as a way to launch the place. And I thought if we're lucky, we'll have 25 people at the end of the year. And here we are a few years later, and we are over 300 now. We have over 170 businesses a year represented in our space that we work with. And, I'd love to say that was the plan all along, but to be honest, it feels like it's really growing faster than we ever expected.
Yeah, and you've had tremendous success, again, in terms of growing companies from ideas into real-life companies who've launched and hired people, created payroll, and those types of things.
Yeah, that's right. We've had a lot of people spin out and start businesses and hire employees. We've had some go on to form corporations. We've had some in some major accelerators and some really neat things that have happened. It's really fun to be a part of. Okay,
Greater Lafayette Entrepreneurship Week, or GLUE, is coming up. Juliana, talk about this event. This, I believe, is the 4th year for the event. First year, of course, is a virtual event this year. But talk about what this event is all about and what it will mean to entrepreneurs and innovators.
Yeah, so this event is in part about celebration of entrepreneurship in Greater Lafayette. With the virtual opportunity, we've expanded that and reached out, and now it's about entrepreneurship and celebrating it in all forms. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have, I know, speakers and all. It's a big event, couple-day event, big event this month.
Yeah. So we have some connection events for people to do networking with other attendees. We have a keynote speaker, Rebecca Ryan, who's an economist that's going to be speaking. And we have 3 tracks for people to participate in, depending on where they're at in their phase of business. Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, innovators, startups, all of the above, who would be interested in this event?
Yeah. So everybody. So with the 3 tracks, we have imagining, starting, and growing. So you can find a space in those tracks that meets anywhere you are in your business currently to get some workshops and some advice from other entrepreneurs around the country, actually, and learn from their experiences.
And Jason, again, back to the impact the Matchbox continues to have. I know you've got a great relationship with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. So the impact really of the Matchbox extends beyond Lafayette and West Lafayette.
Yeah, that's right. We consider ourselves to be grateful to be a part of the co-working spaces all around the state of Indiana and all the startup activity that's starting to happen here. And we feel like a win for us is a win for everybody. So rising tide lifts all ships. And it's really been neat to be a part of the work the IEDC is doing, the ISBDC, as well as so many other co-working spaces around the state.
All right. It is a continuing success story in Lafayette, in the West Lafayette region. Matchbox co-working space. GLUE is the event coming up here shortly in September. Thank you both, Jason Tenenhouse, the co-founder at Matchbox, and Juliana Cassavan, the operations manager there. Thanks, both of you, for being here.
Thank you, sir.
We'll talk to you soon. All right.
For nearly a century, the Church of the Holy Cross has served as an anchor for the historic Holy Cross neighborhood on the Near East Side of Indianapolis. In the face of dwindling parishioner numbers and building disrepair, an effort is underway to save the historic building. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has more.
In Ireland, Irish Catholics couldn't even have a church.
Which is why this iconic church on the city's Near East Side is so special to so many.
This was very much an Irish Catholic enclave. We just grew with it. It's part of the heart of the Irish community.
Irish immigrants found their way to Indianapolis looking for opportunity and a place to worship. But like the homeland they left, they faced a new set of challenges.
At the time this was built, the Ku Klux Klan had taken over Indiana. They had elected a mayor, they had elected a governor, they were marching around in sheets. They were Irish Americans that had given their sons from Civil War, World War I. Everybody had fought for this country, and then in the 20s, here comes the Ku Klux Klan to tell Irish Americans they weren't American.
In spite of that hate, this new Irish community answered with hard work. And the Church of the Holy Cross opened its doors in 1921, serving as a beacon of pride for decades to come.
That's how this got built, was all these families came together and bought different pieces and put it together. And that's why when you went in there, it was a celebration of the Irish community's success and the ability to raise a building and celebrate their faith, which was incredibly important to them because they'd been persecuted for so long.
These whiteboards behind me once contained the original 120-year-old stained glass windows, removed just last year by the Archdiocese when Holy Cross closed its doors. Now the once sacred sanctuary sits in darkness.
So the reality is the windows are gone, but look to the future and come up with something better that serves the adaptive reuse.
And Holy Cross is just one of the many historic churches across the country that are being forced to close their doors due to decreased attendance, a trend that continues to grow.
That is a serious sign of the future, that these congregations that sustain these historic buildings are declining. So the end result is that we can anticipate many closed or vacant church buildings, many of which are historic and sometimes the great landmarks in their community, as is the Holy Cross Church. What do we do with these buildings once they are vacated?
And with an uncertain future, residents of the Holy Cross neighborhood are hoping they can find a way to save a landmark that defines their community.
Come up with an adaptive reuse that enhances this community of Holy Cross, which is named after this church. I mean, that spire, that tower, that Italianate Renaissance iconic figure for this side of town is not going to go away, hopefully. It's going to be enhanced.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
As we head into the fall, it's not too late to get out and experience the many outdoor adventures Indiana has to offer. From taking in a movie at the Georgetown Drive-In Theater in southern Indiana to building your own bouquet at the state's only public You Pick Flower Farm in Indianapolis, there are plenty of options. Yelp Midwest Regional Director Brittany Smith has a rundown in this month's Trendiana segment.
Obviously, we've still got some warm weather left. Great to get outdoors. Do you think the pandemic and just our way of life these days has shifted a bit? Maybe look at the kind of rediscovered some of the simple pleasures that exist right in our own backyards?
Certainly. I've seen so many people rediscovering parks that maybe they didn't realize were there, or exploring on the weekends in ways that maybe they would have gone out of state otherwise. And now we're just looking within our own state to see what's here. And these are some great examples of things that you can do that are not too far from home.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people doing the staycation thing this year, to be sure. Okay, you've got 5 great spots around Indiana for outdoor adventures, and we begin right here in Indianapolis. P&D Flower Farm, this You Pick Flower Farm, which you say is kind of becoming a trendy thing around the country.
Yeah, even just looking at Indiana alone, we've seen several flower farms pop up in the last year, and P&D Flower Farm is a great example of that. Just on the south side of Indy, you can go there and pick your own flowers to create a bouquet for as low as $5, so it's really budget friendly. Great place to take the kids as well, and people love taking pictures of the flowers. It's really fun to see everyone going through all the rows of them, and you can actually pack your own picnic at this spot. They've got a covered barn that you can sit out in the flowers and really make an afternoon of it.
All right, very neat. Not far from Indianapolis, Mooresville, Anderson Orchard, another You Pick place.
Yeah, they just kicked off their U-Pick season last week, actually. And this is a classic activity that folks love to do in the fall. And this highly rated orchard is no exception. You can go there and weave through the rows to pick up your own apples, but they're also known for their cider slushies and the elephant ears inside. And inside that apple barn, they're also offering produce and plants. And for this year, they've got pickup curbside available, too.
All right, we see during the pandemic here, drive-in theaters, drive-in restaurants kind of making a comeback. This one interests me. Drive-in theaters, the Georgetown Drive-In, far southern Indiana, not too far from Louisville. The Georgetown Drive-In is really making things happen.
Yeah, drive-in theaters are definitely having a moment in 2020. And Georgetown actually made our list of the Yelp's top drive-in theater in every state this summer. Georgetown has been around since 1951, and they've got 2 screens. Definitely all the nostalgic vibes there. It's a really simple way to have some fun on the weekend and load up your car.
All right, 2 more stops, only have a minute left. Marengo Cave, that's one a lot of people know about, have been, but still it's a big attraction.
Yeah, this is a good way if you're wanting to get out from the heat. You can go into the Marengo Cave, 52 degrees year round. It was created as a national landmark in 1984. And if you do one tour, the Yelp reviews recommend the 1-hour Crystal Palace. Don't miss that one.
Okay, Indianapolis Cultural Trail back here in Indy. It's expanding, right? Some new features on the Cultural Trail.
Yeah, we're up to 50 stations and 525 bicycles along the Cultural Trail with the Pacers Bike Share. So if you haven't been on the trail or you want to rediscover it, it's a great time. They're actually doing free 30-minute community rides throughout the month of September. So it's a good time to get back downtown and explore some of your favorites or find a new one.
Outdoor adventures around the state of Indiana, a great trip around the state as always. Brittany Smith from Yelp, thanks so much for the overview, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully in person sooner rather than later.
Likewise. Thanks, Gary.
All right.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. The Indiana Biosciences Research Institute has a new leader. Alan Palkowitz is a drug discovery and development veteran, serving in high-level positions at the IU School of Medicine and Eli Lilly. He shares his vision for the applied research organization with Kylie Valletta in the business of health.
IBRI's mission is to bridge academic research and the private industry. And you mentioned off camera, this is a really interesting time scientifically here in our life sciences community in Indiana. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, thank you. So when I look at the landscape, the scientific landscape, and starting, for example, here at IBRI, there's already been some tremendous work that's been initiated focused on translational medicine and trying to advance disease understanding. And I look at that as just part of a larger concentration of talent and capabilities that are part of our Midwest community. So, for example, when you look at IU, when you look at Purdue, when you look at Notre Dame, companies like Lilly and Roche, it really is a very fertile environment to continue to build initiative and focus on transforming human health. And that's really central to where IBR will fit in as we move forward as a key partner in that enterprise.
So the announcement came just days ago that you would be taking over there as president and CEO. Tell us a little bit about your vision for IBRI moving forward.
Well, this is something that will evolve over time, but what I really want to see for IBRI is to really emerge as a key innovator and a key leader of innovative science that focuses on human health for Indiana, but really for the world. And to do that, we're going to have to really work on becoming and establishing, our own our own identity as a scientific leader, but also emerge as an invaluable partner that can work with the broader community to work on problems that are bigger than any individual organization to really move human health forward. And so that will be a very, very key part of what I work on, what I work to establish. But ultimately, we also want to contribute to growing the life science community here by working on initiatives that create jobs, to bring and retain talent, and really help the Midwest and Indiana and the broader Midwest emerge as a real powerhouse in advancing human health. And that's really what I'll be working to create with the team here.
Speaking of talent, some pretty exciting news at IBRI. You're opening your new headquarters at the 16 Tech Innovation District. Attracting talent is a huge focus in that new district. That project's really coming to life in Indianapolis now as it opened its Building 1, which is where your new headquarters will be. Tell us about the significance of IBRI being located at 16 Tech.
Well, I think, as I said, we're in Innovation Building 1, which is really the cornerstone of the 16 Tech community. And being here, being one of the first tenants, puts us really at the nexus point of a tremendous focus on the community and an expectation for growing this whole enterprise around us, that we really grow the biomedical community. So we're going to be at the intersection of a lot of key discussions, a lot of key investment, a lot of key scientific collaborations. And so that is really important for us to really be at that focal point. And I think that will really help propel our identity, but also, very importantly, really bring the community together with this common mission to really advance human health and build a broader enterprise for the Midwest.
And those open labs look amazing at your new headquarters. We're showing video of them. Hopefully scientists will be filling those labs soon. So your background includes 28 years at Eli Lilly, followed by 2 years in counting at the IU School of Medicine. So you've lived in both worlds, the private industry as well as academic. How will that background help you as you lead IBRI?
Well, from an experience standpoint, I've been able to, work across the whole translational spectrum, from all the way from basic research to actually taking medicines into patients, and all the way through the drug approval process. And that's across many different disease areas. So that, from a scientific foundation, I think that is a good prep for this role. But on top of that, I've had the great experience of working with many passionate scientists and helping them to realize their ambitions to change the world through their work. And so that experience of how to build teams, how to help scientists grow their careers and have an impact is something that I think translates across industry as well as to the academic and the IBRI setting, which in itself has its own unique aspects to it. On top of that, I think my experience is also taught me a lot about the business dimensions of what we do. We have to be able to translate funding into meaningful outcomes to move science forward, but also achieve these overarching goals to actually create ways to grow the community and bring business development. And so those are things that I have as part of my background that I'll really try to leverage in marrying all the forces that are necessary to advance our goals and our mission.
All right. Well, Dr. Palkowitz, you're looking great in your new digs there. So keep us posted on all the great things that IBRI does as you move forward in your new headquarters. Thanks for being on the show today.
Well, thank you, Kylie. It was great to be here, and we'll definitely keep you posted.
Geo Next Generation High School says it is finding success with an innovative education model. The public charter school aims to prepare students for college by placing them in college classes while they're still in high school at no cost to the students. School leader Kelly Marshall and Geo Foundation President Kevin Teasley joined us with more in our Eye on Education segment.
Kevin, I'll start with you. The Geo Foundation has been around for a while, about 22 years. Give us really a thumbnail, the mission of the Geo Foundation.
Sure. Well, GEO stands for Greater Education Opportunities Foundation. And what we seek to do is provide opportunities to quality education, primarily to those who are underserved. So we're in Gary, Indiana, and we're on the northeast side of Indianapolis, serving a primarily minority and low-income population. And we try to be a little bit different than just about any other school, charter or otherwise, and go beyond the talk of college and we actually put students in real college classes on real college campuses like Ivy Tech, IUPUI, Marian University here in Indianapolis.
Well, give us an idea, because there is a path to success, if you will, here. You started this model of school in Gary, and I know we've done stories on the show previously and on our platform at the success of that school and what you achieved in Gary.
Yeah, the Gary School, when we started in 2005, started in a city where 50% of the students dropped out of high school. We've tried to stop the flow of dropout in Gary, and we did what many traditional college prep schools do, where they're talking to students about the importance of going to college, how much more money they can make with the more degrees that they get, that sort of thing. We did college tours, we did FAFSA night, scholarship night, application night, all of that. But at the end of the day, if we're being honest, those efforts were not as successful as we wanted them to be. And what we found is that many of the students we were serving didn't see themselves as going to college. So they weren't going to our high school primarily to get ready to go to college. They were going to high school because that's where the social scene was. So we had to change our whole approach to college prep and really start putting kids in real college classes so that they could see themselves as college students and college capable and build their own confidence and self-confidence and ability to go on and complete college. Yeah. And in 2012, we had our first student in all of Northwest Indiana, not just ours, but in all of Northwest Indiana, to get a full associate degree before graduating from high school. Wow. 2017, you and I celebrated Raven Osborne, who earned a full bachelor's degree while in our high school at no cost to her, from Purdue University, by the way. And so we've had 30 students do this over the last few years in Gary, and that's what we're bringing here to Indianapolis.
Kelly Marshall, you are the school leader at the Next Generation High School here in Indianapolis. You're open now. You've got about 100 students. Talk about what's going on and what will go on at this high school in the northeast side around 40th and North Franklin Road.
Well, we're excited right now. We did open our doors in August to grades 9, 10, and 11, and we already have 16 students that are taking advantage of this opportunity. And like Kevin said, in alignment with the mission, it's about offering opportunities to a population of students that are often denied that access. So those 16 students, and we'll continue to get the remaining students in those college courses as well, but these opportunities are offered to them as early as their 9th grade year. And that's a unique approach to dual credit, especially here in Indianapolis. We at, GEO just feel that if a student is ready, both academically and they have that maturity, then it's our job to put that opportunity in front of them. And we have students taking advantage of it.
Yeah, what's your, as an educator, what excites you, Kelly, about being involved with a model like this?
Well, let's say, and I'm a seasoned educator as well, so I have watched students get into college and the expenses that come along with it, they are not able to stay. If we can put college courses in front of them, that helps the family out, and then that could shave off, time that they're spending on those college campuses. And then it saves the parents some money, it saves the students some time, and then it just helps in that trajectory of completing college. So as an educator, that's what I want. I want an opportunity placed in front of students that, can go beyond our doors. And so we at GEO like to think of ourselves, we're a launching pad, not a destination. But we're going to give you the opportunities so that trajectory is just easier for the families and for the students to finish.
Well, the GEO Next Generation High School now open, the model gaining traction here in Indianapolis now. Kelly Marshall is the school leader at the school. Kevin Teasley, founder and president of the GEO Foundation. Thank you both for being here. We look forward to following up in the months ahead.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
The Indianapolis Colts opened their season over the weekend in Jacksonville, beginning what will be a very different-looking year. How will the Colts adjust, and how is their season shaping up? ESPN reporter Mike Wells has more with Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
It's been, again, an odd preseason, no preseason games to really get the measure of rookies and newcomers and veterans, for that matter. What's it been like covering the team during this time?
Well, I think you said it best when you said odd. I mean, we've seen what has happened, not only in this country, but around the world since, COVID really has become the focal point of things in February and March. And, 20 years in this business, I've never covered a team where I'm actually not interviewing players or coaches in person. Everything is done by Zoom. Fortunately, I'm able to watch practices and everything. But, now you're dealing with getting daily COVID tests for the media to be able to be in the building and be able to see players. But I think the most unique thing is, doing interviews by Zoom. You were a longtime columnist here in Indianapolis, and they have relationships. You like to be in person, but now you're asking one or two questions, and then you're moving on, and that's it.
Well, Mike, let's talk about, the big offseason acquisition was Philip Rivers, no question about that. He has the propensity to take a lot of sacks in San Diego, threw 20 picks last year. But again, this guy's a veteran, and really, I think, from what I've been able to observe from afar, really brings a level of leadership to this club that it desperately needs.
He does bring it. You're right. Philip Rivers, he's heading into his 17th NFL season. The question mark is at age 38, what does Philip Rivers have left in the tank? 23 turnovers, 20 interceptions, which were the third most in the NFL. But what really helps Phillip Rivers out by coming here to Indianapolis, he's very familiar with Frank Reich. They were together with the Chargers since 2013 before Reich moved on to Philadelphia and then here in Indianapolis. So he knows the system, and he's playing behind the best offensive line that he's had in his career. And he does not have to use that right arm of his to try to carry the Colts. He has other weapons that he's able to turn to. This is a complete team here in Indianapolis. So now it's a matter of, can Phillip Rivers get the confidence back and also, complete a high percentage of passes without turning the ball over.
And certainly the Colts will rely heavily on the running game, as they did last year. Marlon Mack had a 1,000-yard season. We've added Jonathan Taylor to the roster from the University of Wisconsin. Appears to be could be a great back over the long haul. And the receiving core, I think, will be healthy with T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell, and then another newcomer, Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I like the addition of Pittman and Taylor. It means more weapons, because last year, Jacoby Brissett, when he was a starting quarterback, they had so many injuries with T.Y. Hilton and Eric Ebron that they didn't really have a lot of players they could turn to. Pittman had over 100 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns at USC. And we know, Big Ten folks, IU and Purdue they know what Jonathan Taylor did when he was at Wisconsin, back-to-back 2,000-yard rushing seasons with the Badgers. So the weapons are there for Phillip Rivers. Now it's a matter of if they're able to string it together.
And Mike, let's talk again before we talk briefly about the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Adam Vinatieri, Hall of Famer to be, struggled mightily last year, and now they've added Rodrigo Blankenship. So hopefully the kicking game will solidify, because last year was definitely a struggle.
Oh, hey, quit trying to be nice, Bill. I wouldn't call it a struggle. I would say the kicking game was a disaster last season. And what I find unique is, Blankenship is coming in, and, he was 200 of 200 on extra points at Georgia. He missed less than 20 field goals while playing in the toughest conference in college football. And now he's coming in to replace a future Hall of Famer. And I got to point out, Rodrigo Blankenship, he enjoys playing with Legos. I can't imagine him being 20-something years old, loving to play Legos. But he can do whatever he wants as long as he makes kicks for the Indianapolis Colts.
Mike, we're running out of time. So as we wrap up, just give me a brief summation of the defense. Better, I hope. Certainly they need to be better. And your prediction, please.
You know what? The addition of DeForest Buckner, giving up the 13th pick. DeForest Buckner and Justin Houston's on the defensive line, followed up by Darius Leonard, who is one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. The Colts defense needs to be a top 10 unit. And as far as prediction goes, people may not want to believe me because I usually fail, but I'm saying Colts AFC South champions with a 10-6 record and get back to the playoffs.
All right. Well, Mike Wells, thanks for joining us, and best wishes to you, my friend. And you can follow Mike on ESPN.com and other various ESPN platforms. Thanks for being on the program.
And finally this week, it's not often we showcase an entrepreneur with a story like Rachel Klein's. She graduated from Indiana University with a degree in dance, but her life's path led her to another passion, creating healthy food. She came on the show to talk about the growth of her business, Revival Food Company.
I gave a little kind of an overview there. You started as a dance major, I think, exercise. What would you end up majoring in at IU?
Exercise science.
Exercise science. Got out, decided, tried to figure out where you wanted to go. How did this almond butter thing come about and really become what is big business for you?
Yeah, so I was really just in between jobs at the time. I had graduated. I was a massage therapist, Pilates instructor, yoga instructor. I was doing everything. And in the midst of that, just happened to be making almond butter at home because I really just didn't like anything else that was on the shelves. I thought it was bland, pasty, full of sugar. So I made my own. And like you said, had it as wedding favors at my wedding. And then following that, since I was in between jobs, my husband said, why not just try selling it and see what happens? So that's what I did. And as I started selling it, I realized, gosh, this is actually working and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's something that I'm passionate about, which is health and engaging with people on a regular basis. So I decided, why not? Let's keep going. So I really made myself a student of business, Googled my way through, asked a lot of questions, and wound up here.
And you're gaining a lot of traction. I know you formed the company, Revival Food Company, in 2015. Ultimately went to a trade show, and that was, I guess, a kind of a big break. You connected with Walmart, and now your product is on Walmart stores. Talk about that whole process.
Yeah, so following up from that trade show, I met the Walmart buyer, and oftentimes at trade shows like this, you're going to meet so many buyers. So many people are going to say, yes, I love it. We're going to carry it. That'd be great. And a lot of times it doesn't pan out, but I am tenacious. So I continued to follow up with this buyer. And long story short, we're now in 1,000 Walmart stores nationwide.
That is amazing. And so too is kind of your sales numbers. Give us an idea of where you started to where you are now in terms of sales of your almond butter.
Our growth has increased over 500% in the last few months, to be honest. So we always had a very small, thriving, organic, very stable business. It was never anything crazy, but it was enough to keep me happy. From there, though, we have since leapt up into selling almost $350,000 a month at this point, which is quite a bit more than I ever made before.
Yeah, that is amazing. Rachel, as we wrap up, as you look going forward, the next 5 to 10 years, or kind of a little bit of a longer term outlook, what's next for Revival Food Company? What do you see as growth opportunities?
Well, honestly, sky is the limit. I feel like I got this far, so really anything else is going to feel easy. We're going to bring out more product line offerings. We're going to have some different flavors of almond butter. We're going to create some new products with the almond butter, and maybe even just continue to extend along creating vegan, plant-based products. So I'm super excited as we continue to partner with other brands, bring in some investors. Really, anything is possible. So we're not going to go away. We're just going to keep getting stronger.
Yeah, I have a feeling that indeed will happen. Rachel Klein, the founder of Revival Food Company. Great almond butter on Walmart stores and elsewhere. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on your success. We look forward to following what's next for you and your company. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.